folks, how are we doing this evening?
So, obviously, a lot of folks are going to be expecting to do it's been a TTRP Girls event that you were going to be running, Rhi. And unfortunately, we received word that it had to be cancelled last minute.
Yep. As with all streaming, we hope it is really important that cast well-being is put first, because you cannot build a solar punk future when people are feeling under the weather. So we have decided to postpone. It is not a cancellation. We are postponing. The stream will go ahead in April instead. So if anything, we are just extending the TTRP Girls event. But in the meantime, I figured, got my webcam all fired up. Laurie's got a free evening, might as well do a live.
Absolutely. So we were thinking, what could be fun to put together? We could run our own session. We could do something of that degree. And then we thought, this would be a perfect opportunity to show off the core book. It's something we haven't shown off a lot. We've demoed it in public and in person. And we've gone through it with people who have signed up for playtests and such in our server. We haven't really done a video showing off how it works, what happens in it, and all the rest of it. So we thought, hey, perfect opportunity. Let's give it a go. So Rhi and I haven't made character sheets or anything like that. So we're going to do that now. We're going to take you through character creation. I've managed to get the book up on the screen so you can follow along as we do it. We have our hastily and somewhat messily cut out character sheets here.
Messily.
Well, mine are messy. And we're gonna go through character creation and make our characters and see what happens. We'll lead them through a little scene, a couple of situations, or depending on how many we get through, and should be fun. So, when you're ready, Rhi?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, so here we have our page for playing the game. I do indeed have my pencil. I've got my 3 6-sided dice, and I've got my character slips. So we're going to be playing a crew from the Community Alliance. We are basically a eco-punk group that are trying to make a better world in the ashes of the old one. We're fighting back against the White Fist and their masters, the Guiding Hand, who are looking to kind of try and destabilize what people have managed to build up, and in turn try and convince them or even force them into what are called protectorates. These are like steel-walled compounds where people are effectively having to work in order to survive. And given whatever is...
anything but.
Exactly. So as the Community Alliance, we're trying to sort of find folks. We're trying to help them build up. We're trying to help them become more stable in the world, in the way that they want to live. And in turn, over time, we're looking to sort of have them join the Community Alliance, this defensive pact, this mutual aid group, which allows all of us to thrive in the ways we want to live. So that's who we are. Here we have our first steps for our crew list. We have as well some symbols of the Community Alliance, our Community Alliance handprint, and the dandelion down here. But you're welcome to read this over whilst Rhi and I go through character creation. So, we've got our 4 sheets cut out already because we're just that together. And I have written hit on the bottom, so that's step 2 there. Okay, well, then I'm winning, which means that my next step is step 3, where I'm choosing a name and 2 descriptors for each character. So
as we are live, in When We Fight, every player has 4 characters, and sometimes that can be a bit daunting for people, so we recommend like a naming theme. Sometimes it's food or colors. We had one playtester choose native trees, or like trees native to New Zealand, which was like awesome. We spent half the session learning about trees. So if anyone in the comment has any naming themes you would like us to adopt for this session, please let us know sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it'll have to be quick because I'm thinking.
Laurie's thinking. So speak now, or we may end up just naming them without you.
especially if they're vegetable themed. Days forever. Hold your peas.
Hold your peas. Wow. Stunning. I can see that Jasper is here. Hello, Jasper.
Okay. Hi, Jasper. So let's have a look. So
I'm thinking I might go for herbs.
okay.
Michael has been laughing that our future Community Alliance members might pull out old world names. Love that. What sort of names would be funniest in like a post-apocalyptic society?
Oh.
I feel like Gary.
Gary. Solar Punk Gary. I'm going to have a character named Gary now, just to have that.
Postman Film has a character, Lincoln Ford Mercury. Woof. That is one hell of a name.
Okay. Well, then, in that case, I'm going to go with Lincoln as the last one.
Okay. What's everyone's favourite herbs? Personally, big fan of coriander.
Okay. Well, then you're going to have, I don't know, would they have the full name coriander, or would it just be like Cory?
Clearly it would be Ander.
Anders is a name.
It is. It would be coriander in full, but probably Cory for short.
Yeah.
For UK campaign, Guinness.
Not sure that Guinness would be a herb.
That depends where in the UK you are.
That's true. It's one of your 5 a day, right? It's technically a grain.
Yeah. I think iron brew's a fruit.
There we go.
It's orange. That counts, right? Right?
Absolutely.
You're distracting me, and now I can't think of a fourth herb, which is tragic.
Okay, there we go. We've got, Jasper says, reminds me of the old kids TV show, The Herbs, Bayleaf the Gardener. You've got to have the last one be called Bayleaf.
Bayleaf it is. Okay, I have got my 4 names.
Excellent. Yeah, me too.
So, I have got rosemary. Thank you, Michael. Thyme, coriander, and bay leaf.
Okay, well, I have Gary, and Bjorn, and Sandy, and Lincoln.
Nice. Very well rounded. Yeah. Did you have a naming theme, or did you just pick names?
I mostly just picked names, but when Gary came up at your suggestion and Lincoln came up at Michael's suggestion, you had to go with it, right?
Fair play.
Yeah.
Right, so now that we've done names, we are moving on to descriptors.
Okay. So folks are welcome to call out descriptors as well. I will probably use them.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm two of the way through.
I'm done.
Oh, wow. Powering through.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you are finishing off yours, I will say that Bayleaf has a shy smile and a somewhat aloof nature. Coriander has wild hair and is covered in tattoos. Thyme chews their lip a lot but has a reliable nature. And finally, Rosemary has short hair and a cheeky laugh.
Okay, one more. Go on then, Rhi. Give me a descriptor. What am I going with? You
Who's
don't
it
get
for?
to know what character. No, no,
Oh,
no.
don't get to know which character.
No.
Okay. I think they have piercings that they're always fiddling with.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I thought that would count as two.
You don't get one per piercing. That's one descriptor.
Piercings that they're always fiddling with.
Oh, I suppose.
I'm being cheeky, to be fair.
Go on, one more.
I think they've got an infectious laugh.
Okay. Now I've already got someone with a particular laugh, so I'm going to go with dyed purple hair.
Dyed purple hair, very nice. Michael says
Okay.
piercings are brave in a world with limited disinfectants.
I mean, valid. But I guess humanity's been piercing itself for a long time. I think
We have, in fact, a lot of cultures that do not have access to, I guess, the sort of disinfectants you might pick up at Tesco's have been piercing themselves for, well,
millennia.
Yeah, millennia.
Yeah, I guess it's being careful with it as much as anything, and probably not fiddling with it would help.
Look, it might have been based on me and my habits, okay?
Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Hit it, Rhi. Who are your people?
I've already described mine. It's your turn.
Oh, have you? Oh, amazing. Okay, right. So, before I had Bjorn, I was thinking characters called Bjorn, they're always like big burly guys. No, this Bjorn is going to be lanky physique. But however has brilliant eyes, just like really quite striking. Sandy, who I'm thinking is going to be an older woman, has silver hair but a power walk.
Nice.
And then we got Lincoln. Lincoln has a high-pitched laugh and an intermittent cough.
I bet those go hand in hand.
And then last of all, we have Gary. And Gary does indeed have piercings that always get fiddled with and dyed purple hair.
Very nice.
No.
Very nice. So now that we've got the basics down and we know their name and we know roughly what they look like and a little bit about their personalities, we're going to move on to picking their skills, I believe.
Absolutely, their specialties. So something to bear in mind is that all crew members start with a bow, arrows, and a light melee weapon of your choice. You don't have to add these to your sheets. You'll sort of assume to always have them regardless. But you can specify them as you go if you want to.
Very
So,
nice.
last of all, so yeah, here we go. So, step 4, we have our specialties. Specialties come in 3 different flavors, which is mental, physical, and social. And each of these have their own 4 examples. So, well, not examples, specific ones. Yeah, you can kind of go with any of these. If you're building your characters at home, then, you know, it doesn't matter too much if there's overlap with other crews or anything like that. What they're good at is specifically what they're good at, and people are going to use their specialties in their own unique ways. So it's absolutely fine to have some overlap, but you probably don't want 4 different people with awareness in your crew. It's going to be a little bit.
I mean, if you want a challenge, sure, but I think you'd probably change that up after the first situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To be honest, if anyone did want to play the game, particularly wanted a challenge, then try doing a run on your own without any of a particular specialty type. So like no mental or no social or something along those lines. It's a challenge if you're going solo, no question.
I hadn't considered doing that. But I am the kind of person that would turn my video game settings down to easy, so.
Can confirm.
He's helped me do it a few times. I also wanted to let people know that the book we are showing you on the screen at the moment is the core book, which we do not have a preview available of. So anything you are seeing on this stream is the core book, which I think is yet unseen by people. So enjoy.
Yes, the beginning of it is basically the same because obviously making characters is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there's going to be a whole bunch of bits in this which haven't really been seen outside of folks seeing us at Aircon or other places like that where we've had the physical thing right in front of them. So pretty exciting to be showing it off. Oh, Gaza, what are we going to give you?
Gaza. Perfect nickname. Personally, when I play, I tend to end up with 2 social skills in my crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tend to. I really like morale and awareness as a combo in a crew. No spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to have a big surprise whenever you see the final core game. But I guess to be fair, you could always watch it on a bigger screen, and you could check out the actual book via YouTube or anything like that. We're going to have the screen on, the whole show on video on demand afterwards. So even though it's a live stream now, people will be watching it later too. Hi, future people.
People in the future. Wait. Oh, I feel lame. So I have 1 mental, social, and physical skill so far. I do tend to go for a second social, but people in the chat, should I, or should I pick something else for dear Rosemary?
Okay.
Oh yeah, book and a brew. That's the way to do it. That is the way to do it.
Absolutely. So you say you've got 2 socials, right?
Well, no, I normally have 2 socials. So at the moment, I've got 1 of each type. I usually go for a second social, but I'm considering maybe going for a physical this time. I feel like Rosemary is probably pretty good at scavenging or navigation.
Well, what do you not normally go for?
Navigation. I tend to go for scavenging.
There you go. There's your answer.
All right, let's try something new. Okay. Skills have been acquired.
Likewise, these. Okay, these are done. We'll reveal them. We'll reveal them at the end. The last section is the Why I Fight personality discovery. So this is where you start actually putting some meat on your characters, as it were, where you're starting to learn about who they are, what they care about. The first one you add to a character is always a Why I Fight personality discovery, but there are a whole bunch of options. So do you have something that jumps to your mind immediately, Rhi? Do you look at these people and immediately go, I know you.
I do. In fact, I'm writing it down right now.
Amazing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I've got mine as well.
So, who's going to introduce the crews first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I now know that Lincoln is very good at the social specialty of tactics. Well known for being able to think his way through these puzzles and such, and situations that could be harmful. Sandy, who with her silver hair and a power walk, is excellent at athletics. So all that power walking has paid off. Can really get from A to B. And we have Gary. Gary is. I'm really glad you didn't go for scavenging, Rhi, because Gary wants some limelight. Gary is a scavenger at heart, and yeah, he's going to go for it. So, and then finally we have Bjorn, which is the one that I've given my personality discovery to. Bjorn is excellent and electrical, and his personality discovery is the smallest things can be the strongest with the right support.
Nice.
Yeah. So even though Bjorn didn't end up being the big bear of a man that his parents hoped he would, nonetheless, Bjorn sees that he's got something to give. He's got something to fight for. He's going to show the world that you don't have to be big and burly to make a difference.
Very good. Very good. I really like the Why I Fight discovery that Michael has put in the chat as well.
Yeah. Sharing it there.
That is really good. I might actually swap mine out.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I thought of one for Rosemary, but that kind of fits too.
Okay.
So, my turn to introduce.
Go for it.
So, Rosemary is particularly good at navigation. And I also decided that for her reason that she's fighting is that she has lived her life and she will gladly fight for her grandchildren to live theirs.
Okay.
And I feel like that actually kind of ties in with what Michael said.
Okay. Well, the guiding hand burned down my family's farmstead, and now I aim to undo every harm they do. It's a great discovery. I feel like, Michael, you should be on the stream with us. Out here making a crew flying alongside us. But yeah, if you want to add that as your personality discovery, then yeah, you should go for it.
I might keep it aside for now, and maybe
you can always add it.
Yeah, exactly. As we go, perhaps one of the other characters will reveal.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm definitely not just saying that because I've realised I have not gathered myself an eraser, so cannot, in fact, get rid of the one that I've already written. That's completely unrelated.
All right. Definitely, 100%. Okay, so with that, we've added our single personality discovery to our crew, and that means that on these 4 delightful little strips of paper, we have created our entire crew. Yes. It is that simple. It has taken us all of, 20 minutes, but mainly because, we've been farting about.
We've been chatting a lot, to be fair.
Exactly. Normally takes about 15 minutes to sort it, which, by RPG standards is pretty quick. And so we are sorted. So the next step is we set up our mission journal. Now, the core book has quite a few more missions than before. The core book has a number of missions that are more peacefully aimed. So these are aimed around the idea that you're going out, you're finding, you've heard about something going on, or you're finding a way in which you can go and retrieve some supplies that will really benefit your collective or your settlement. That's the word I'm looking for. And so there are a number of things we've got here, like info on a stash of medicine, an arms dealer arrives, refugee convoy stops. These are things where you've heard about something happening, you're venturing out to see what's going on and dealing with whatever result comes about. You won't necessarily know what it is you're walking into before you get there, since a lot of the core book is way more generative than direct action, which has pre-generated scenarios in it. So, I have realised that even though I did get a piece of paper for my characters, I did not get a piece of paper for my mission journal. So, Rhi, do you have a spare?
I do not have a spare piece of paper. However, I do have a journal here that I could use.
Okay.
The only issue is space on my desk.
I can always just go grab one. It is just in the other room.
Yeah, go do that.
Okay. BRB.
I promise not to badmouth you in your absence. I'm lying. I'm not lying. Laurie is great, and I am very much looking forward to moving at the end of the week and moving back into the same house, because we have been living separately for a few weeks now, which has been interesting. But on Saturday, we are moving up to Scotland after living in the southeast for 10 years.
Yeah. So it's a hell of a move, especially one to do in the middle of a campaign. But hey, why make life easy when you can do everything all at once? That's what I say.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Absolutely. Okay, so
if I could become a sentient rock, I would become a sentient rock.
I could put the googly eyes on you. That would be adorable.
That would be quite cute.
Okay, so Rhi, what mission would you like to move towards? We've got a number of different possibilities here. I think we should pick one of the peaceful ones, since they're a little different to the normal ones that people are seeing.
Ooh, let's have a quick read. See, info on a stash of medicine as herb-themed crew interests me.
True.
So does a Bastion calls for aid. So between those two, does anyone in the chat have a preference of which we head towards?
Okay, I can't say a Bastion calls for aid, because unfortunately that's not in this version of the book, mainly because it's quite a big scene, because it's all about going and helping them out in a variety of ways. So not that one, but feel free to pick another one to choose between.
In that case, maybe a cache of machinery is unclaimed. I do have someone that likes chemistry, and machines often relate to chemistry in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Jasper says, did the guiding hand burn down your farmstead and now you have to move to Scotland? Pretty much. Actually, It's really not far off the truth. We will not go into the gory details, but that's the line we're going to be using from here on.
Absolutely, yeah. Try not to draw too many parallels to the idea that we're fleeing across a border. It's nothing to do with any idea of revenge whatsoever.
Nope.
So, which one was it? Sorry, which one are we going for?
I think we're going to go for the stash of medicine.
Okay.
Medicine is going to be something that is very, very much sought after. And given that a lot of people are going to be coming from these protectorates in a pretty bad way, I think having medicine sounds like the best thing for us.
Okay. So, what we're going to do is, in order to keep this relatively contained, we're going to do two potential, we're basically going to do two movement, travel points.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start. Well, actually, that's an excellent question. Rhi, would you like to do the first roll for me? Where are we going to start?
We are going to start in a village.
Village. Okay. So right next to our settlement, we have a village. And we're going to be traveling through it towards our destination. Then I will roll the next one. Okay. So then we will be moving from the village into farmland.
Nice.
All right. So with that in mind, there is a. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. So the next part of this is we want to create an ID tag. So what do our crew call themselves? How do they refer to themselves as a group, so that we can refer to them as such?
I have to do a very quick Google. Okay. My crew are going to be known as the Love Bugs.
Oh, okay.
Because all of their names are herbs. So they're herby.
Oh my god. That's fantastic. That's adorable. Okay, amazing. Now I feel like I have to come up with something really good for mine. That's annoying. Okay, so you are the love bug. And I am going to be, I think my crew are going to be, they're going to be the Zip Zappers.
The Zip Zappers.
The Zip Zappers, yeah, baby.
I don't think you've got me beat with that one. Sorry, sweetheart.
No, I don't. There was no way I was going to beat you. There was no way. Sometimes you just got to give up.
Yeah, my nerdery just beat you. What can I say?
So basically, the Zip Zappers are called as much because when it comes to you got Sandy who zips along on a power walk, and also you've got Lincoln, who always has the quickest route to get somewhere or go somewhere, and then you've got Bjorn, who is good at electrical, so he is indeed good with the old zap, and Gary, who scavenges, which means he puts his hands places where he probably shouldn't. As a result, has had one too many shocks.
All right, I mean that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Reference to a very specific set of movies about a sentient car.
Hey man, it's a great sentient car.
It's a great sentient car. Though I'm not sure Herbie beats Brum, personally.
Nobody beats Brum. Brum beats Knight Rider. Come on. There's no contest. Anyway, I'm getting wildly off topic here. All right, so we have completed our cruise. We know what they're called. They're the Love Bugs and the Zip Zappers, and they are heading on out.
We've got a comment from Mars as well.
Okay. I no longer let my gaming group name their adventuring parties. They keep naming themselves things I have to look up on the internet. And you know what? The worst part about that is when you have to look something up on the internet, you never know what you're going to find. You're always getting yourself in for am I going to regret putting this into a search engine? Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
such is the way with gaming groups.
absolutely. Okay, so right, we've completed our cruise. We have our names. We have everything going on there. We are now on to there's a quick section here um, about like the basics of how to play the game and such. This is the same as in the quick start, so I'm gonna scroll on by this. Similarly, again, there's the section on time, but we should probably work out what time we start out at. So we're heading towards this supposed stash of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard a rumor, or at least been notified that there's something there. What are we thinking with regards to this? Like, so what time would we like to arrive? Maybe, since there's only 2 beforehand.
I mean,
Personally, go on.
we tend to start with missions. We tend to choose whatever time of day it happens to be in real life.
Yeah.
But I think we should start in the morning. I think, we seem to have the sort of crews that would be like, right, we've got our mission, we know where we're going, we're going to get up tomorrow morning, and we're just going to get on the road.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're heading out in the morning. Morning gives us +1 to morale and +1 to navigation. So I've written that down. And so we have a few more pages here. I'm just going to jump through. And then we have our D66 table. So as we set off, as we're traveling along towards our stash of medicine, we build ourselves a situation. We learn about our world around us as we travel through it. And we know that we're traveling through a village. And we know that it's the morning, but we don't know what we discover on our way. So, Rhi, would you like to roll the D66 table, or shall I? Or would you like to roll 10s and I'll roll units, or vice versa?
I'll roll 10s, you roll units. Why not?
Okay. All right, let's do it.
Okay, it is 30...
36.
36. I somehow knew it would be 36. That's a bit weird.
Okay. So we have transformation. So the D66 table for situation building is basically where we have a whole bunch of different prompts, and all of them are like on different subjects. So we've got transformation and cultural here, but we also have infrastructure and environmental. And on the other side, we've got devastation and unexpected. So depending on what you roll on the 10s, you get a different thing. And then the units determine what within that you are finding. So we've got transformation. Ooh.
I just wanted to say I really love the quote that we've picked out for the transformation.
Oh, go on, read it out then.
Oh, no. Must I? I'm terrible at reading these out loud. Okay, so it is a quote from Callan Dion, or Callan Dion. Apologies if I am butchering the pronunciation of your name. They're an author, and it says, "Yes, you will rise from the ashes, but the burning comes first. For this part, darling, you must be brave." And I think that is a very good quote for transformation.
Absolutely. We really wanted to make sure the quotes were like connected to the types of discoveries that you're finding. And we felt with transformation, especially in a solar punk world, this was something, transformation is something that isn't just about things changing, it's about them changing for the better, but it's not always an easy transition. Sometimes things are lost in that change. Sometimes things are gained from that change, often both. But it's recognizing that there are multiple stages to that, and that you have to go through the hard part, but on the other side, often it is something better, or at least something different that you can deal with. So, the one that we've had rolled for us is Nature's Bounty. So this village that we're passing through, it says here, this area has grown wild. You find yourself surrounded by a grove of something useful and precious. So we have 2 questions here that we have to answer. What has flourished in this place, and how could it be beneficial? So, yeah, Rhi, anything that jumps to mind? And if anyone wants to shout out something, you're more than welcome to.
I think what has flourished in this place, I'm going to say rose hips.
Okay. So why would you say that?
Because rose hips can be made into an amazing tea, which is really good for inflammation and I think also pain relief. So it is both useful and precious.
Okay, so rose hips have flourished here, and they are a wonderful medicinal herb.
Very high in vitamin C, and good for heart function.
Good. All right. So with that in mind, we now jump to our situation builder. We have determined in the step 1 what the D66 situation table reveals. Mars says, my grandma used to make rose hip jam. Never been able to find any since I was a kid. Best tasting jam ever. I mean, yeah, it's well known for its kind of remedial properties, and I think that is something that used to be used a lot more than it is now. It's nice to hear that you've got that kind of connection to it. I think it's one of the things I really like about this game is as people offer things and offer like ideas and things like that, you learn things about each other in the process. It's one of the things I really like about GMless games as a whole.
Mm-hmm. It's fun because it's like you've got a crew that even, you're playing that crew, but you don't really know them. And similarly, you reflect that when you're playing with other people. You may know them, they may be your friends, but this sort of game brings out information that you just otherwise wouldn't necessarily know.
Absolutely.
I do feel like rose hips were very much the grandparent generation's jam, like as a whole, because my nan also made rose hip jam and it was great, and I also miss it. I don't think it's sold in stores. I've never seen it on the shelves of anywhere. So I'm gonna have to find a nan.
I mean, I was going to say find a grove or something where the rose hips grow, but I guess you could just find a nan.
I could make it myself, I suppose.
Like use the nan
become
like
the nan.
Become the nan. Well, with time, I suppose. But if you do find a nan, maybe you can sort of use them as a little dowsing rod. Just like hold them out. Come on, find the rose hips. Go on, where are they? Off you go.
No, rose hips are not particularly uncommon, but like when you do get a good what's the word? Collection, I suppose, of them, it's well worth it.
Yeah, Mars is spot on here. We could definitely learn to make jam. That is solar punk as hell. Definitely.
It's very solar punk. Jam is the food of the future.
Absolutely, all about that preserve. Nature or tasty.
Right, so now we have done step 1.
Second part. So we are looking now, we work out who is present other than you. I'm going to roll this one, and we're going to determine who one of them is. But if anyone is watching, they are more than welcome to shout one of them out whilst I'm rolling. And at that point, I'll incorporate that. So you're meant to choose one and roll the other. So that's why I'm starting with the roll. So let's see what we get.
So just in case folks can't read the list, it might be too small on a phone screen. The list is animals, the white fist, unarmed civilians, and the armed and desperate. And the final one is nobody. So those are our options if you cannot read the page. Yeah. What did you roll on?
I rolled a 4. So the armed and desperate are here.
Okay, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So now we pick one, and we choose who else is going to be present in this village overgrown with rose hips. Do we think this is an abandoned village of some kind, or do you think this is one where it's just they're growing a large amount of it?
Well, we're in a village, so it's not like the whole village. I like to think that this is like, a lot of villages have like a church ground or like a small graveyard.
Oh yeah.
I like to think that we've like come up to this churchyard, and there's just rose hips like growing up alongside the building.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. All right. Well, we haven't had anyone shout anything out, so I'm thinking perhaps we have animals.
I was also thinking animals. I think that makes sense. Birds and foxes and all sorts are going to be attracted to berries.
Hmm.
That's a point. Do rose hips get classified as berries or are they fruit?
I thought they were a herb, aren't they?
No.
Hmm. Well,
They
the
are a
love
fruit.
bugs would know.
Rose hips are the fruit of a rose bush.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. Probably not, but you know.
Jasper knew. Jasper knew it was a fruit.
Ah, there we go. That's it. That's it. Well, there's no point in continuing the stream, folks. We found out what we came here to find out. So thanks very much for coming. Okay, so the armed and desperate and animals are also present in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
So the next step is where we are determining what conflict we notice. So we have a number of different options. You can choose or you can roll. And the options are a feud over a misunderstanding, a fight arising from distrust or past misdeeds, a conflict of beliefs or values, an oppressive confrontation of one group over another, a clash over resources or needs, or an unlikely peaceful coexistence. Mm. So I pretty much chose both for this. So unless someone wants to shout out, I am more than happy for you to pick this next one, Rhi. What do you think's going on?
I mean, I think there are a few options that really stand out in this sort of situation. So we've got a specific thing, the rose hips, and then we've got the armed and desperate and animals are both here for the thing.
Yeah.
Now, I can picture a feud over a misunderstanding, especially in like a churchyard. It could be that there's a fox den nearby and they've got cubs, and they're sort of being aggressive towards the armed and desperate because the armed and desperate don't realize that they're just trying to protect their cubs. The other option is obviously a clash over resources. It could be that the animals are, trying to eat the rose hips as they do, and the armed and desperate are trying to collect them. So those are my two that I'm mulling over. Does anyone have any preferences? If not, I am going to roll a d6, and odds it's a feud, evens it's a clash.
Okay.
Okay, I have rolled evens, so it is a clash over resources.
Okay, so we have two questions that go alongside this one, or two prompts, I suppose. What do both parties want, and what makes this area a particularly good source for it?
I think it makes sense that they want the rose hips.
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah. So,
So I just had a little look at which animals eat rose hips. And it's mainly birds and small mammals, such as rabbits and like voles and squirrels. However, bears and wild game also quite like rose hips.
Okay. Well, we could really up the ante and say there's bears here.
We could. Paddington has come all the way up from London. It's going to make rose hip
marmalade. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that's quite interesting. The idea that the sort of armed and desperate have turned up here. Maybe they're collecting it. Maybe they're kind of collecting up the rose hips, trying to get their own sort of stash of medicine, so to speak. Only to, maybe as we're arriving, there's the roar of the bear, and we sort of go and run to see what's going on and find these folks being actively attacked by bears over rose hips.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Bear with me 2 seconds. Haha, pun not intended. I believe I can hear the dog squealing outside the door, so I'm just going to let him in.
All right. Okay, so they're clashing over the rose hips with bears attacking the collectors. Okay. So the next step of this, oh, you're back. Good timing.
Yes.
The next step of this whole section, step 4, is what personality discovery does the situation reveal in one of your crew members. So we've built up this situation. We know what we're faced with. We've come into this village only to hear the roar of this bear and run around the corner to see this field of rose hips and these people with their collection bags or whatever, but also like, you know, they're armed and dangerous, or armed and desperate, sorry. So they got guns and things like that, and there's this skirmish going on as they're desperately trying to fend off these bears that are trying to keep their source of fruit all okay. So we have where Michael here says, mission: travel to a distant community for fruit and tree cuttings to start your community's own orchard. I mean, legitimately, you know, this is honestly a part of the core game that we want to be able to have. So, for example, one of the rewards that you can get from things are supplies and resources and such. And it could well be that after this discovery, after we've resolved it and everything else, we do indeed collect a collection of medicine or food or something along those lines, which we can then take back to our settlement and use to build something more long-lasting, you know, an actual plantation or an orchard or something along those lines. So yeah, that is genuinely a part of the game as we are planning to release it. So we won't be looking at the community stuff today, but nonetheless, it will just be showing off the mission stuff. We'll show off community stuff in a future episode.
Community orchards are cool anyway. So
yeah, 100%.
In fact, you should check to see if your local community has one. I know that where we are moving in Glasgow does in fact have a community orchard, and I'm very, very excited for that.
Absolutely, that's very cool. All right, so the next step, as I was about to explain, is that we determine a new personality discovery that is revealed in one of our crew members. So faced with this situation, we look at our characters, we think about how they would react, how they would feel to what they've discovered, and we add to them a personality discovery that sort of they exclaim, or perhaps that becomes apparent based on their actions. The way that they react teaches the rest of the crew about that person a little bit more. So I know what I'm going to add, but I'm going to let you go first, Rhi, because I get the feeling yours is going to be a little bit more serious than mine.
Oh, I wouldn't bank on that. But it might be.
All right, I have written mine.
So the love bugs are hidden behind like an old stone wall that runs alongside this churchyard, and we watch, peeking over the top of it, as these bears go up against the armed and desperate and flinging their weight around and roaring ferociously. That's the armed and desperate. The bears are being very ordained. No joking. And the armed and desperate fight with whatever weapons they have, probably makeshift stuff. And Time watches this with dismay and thinks, why must we gorge ourselves when there is clearly enough for everyone?
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like it. We're also, we're there with you, the Zip Zappers, and they're kind of like, I guess, probably a bit taken aback by the sudden appearance of this giant bear, like trying to fend off these people and their desperate attempts to survive against it. I think Gary sort of looks around at this amazing sort of collection of rose hips and sort of says, "Wow, I mean, free food, it really is the greatest motivator for all creatures, isn't it? Human or animal." So yeah, and the others look at Gary. They realize he's not just talking about them; he's also talking about him. No greater reward than a free lunch.
It's true. It's true. There are many events that I would attend because there's a free lunch that I probably wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah. Fair. Okay, so we've learned something new about our crew. This creates a personality discovery that we're able to tap when we feel it's relevant to an action they're trying to do. And that allows us to add a third die to any roll. So normally we're rolling 2d6, and anything over a 6 will count as a success. So by anything over a 5, actually, so 6 plus. And so by having a third die in there, you've got a much higher chance of success. Right, so the last section, step 5, is where you decide your approach. So your approach, we have 6 different approaches here. I'll read them out because, again, it's somewhat small on the screen. We have move on. We, or our mission ahead, lacks the time to allow us to deal with this. We must press on despite the consequences. Assistance, our time and expertise will go a long way towards making this situation easier for those within it. This is generally used for dealing with a crisis or helping people establish something long-term beneficial. Interaction, an inanimate element of this discovery, deserves closer inspection. Let's take the time to do something with it. Connection, we have the chance to stop, relax, and connect with those here or each other. Mediation, with care and calm, we could soothe the tensions here without needing to resort to violence. And resistance, this situation demands our intervention. We cannot stand by and let this happen. So, honestly, I'm looking at this, and to me, I think our best bets are either mediation or resistance. In order to try and drive the bears off and have these people survive. Not necessarily, we don't want to long-term hurt the bears or anything, we don't want to kill them or anything like that, but just to mean that these armed and desperate folks don't get mauled, we could try and fend them off. Or alternatively, we could try and mediate. Now, mediating with animals is difficult, to say the least, but nonetheless, it is possible. So, what are your feelings on this, Rhi? Because mediation sounds like it'd be pretty difficult. After all, you'd have to back off and then attempt to sort of show you're not a threat.
I'm not sure bears are very open to mediation. I think birds or a small mammal or something like that, then mediation might be easier because it's like, no, don't attack them. Look, have some crumbs. But as far as a bear's concerned, I think they look at this and go, oh, lunch with a side of pudding.
Absolutely.
So I think, as much as it pains me, we may have to go through resistance with this one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, Rhi and I generally are quite open, or not even open, just preferable towards dealing with these things in a more peaceful way. Generally speaking, we have, you've got assistance and mediation and connection and all that. allowing you to make a difference to the situations you come across without resorting to violence whatsoever. But in this situation, I think it does call for it. I don't want to. I guess, actually harm the bears. Like, they are just defending their territory. But if we could scare them off somehow, I think that would be for the best. So I'm going to jump to the animals page here. So we have wild animals. Wild animals are they're their own little thing that is a little bit more difficult. Well, not difficult, but it's its own little bit in order to do for combat. So what we're kind of trying to do is build something that resembles the creature in question that we're dealing with, whatever that may be, assign to it a special ability, and then effectively create an encounter based on it. So there's a few important things to recognize when dealing with animals, which is that when you're facing animals as an enemy, the combined crew difficulty, which is what you determine how many of your opponents are, this is halved. The second is that animals are split into different size categories, but due to their nature, it's pretty uncommon that different species of animals work together. As such, the alternating rule, which normally applies to enemies, so you have to pick a different one each time, or like one and then a different one and then back to the original or similar. This does not apply in this. So you are able to pick just a whole bunch of the same type because there'll be a pack of the animal. That makes sense. And then finally, you choose a special ability for the animal based on what you feel will be the most accurate for that behavior. And it's just an approximation of what you feel is the most relevant. So it should be relatively simple and quick to build, but at the same time, it's its own little combat that has its own little rules. So, Rhi, you are the expert on animals here. What size are we talking about with this bear?
Well, it depends on the type of bear we're up against. Bears range in size a lot. Given that they're after such small fruit in the middle of a village, I'm thinking we're probably up against black bears. Black bears
would make sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, they're smaller, but they're also easier to scare off. They're quite shy as a whole. That doesn't mean that they are not aggressive. They are aggressive, but if you show enough force, they will leave. So as far as size goes, I would say that's probably a rank 5.
Yeah, I was thinking that would be the case. Yeah. And it would be a carnivore type.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that makes sense. So before we actually build this in particular, we're going to quickly jump back to the beginning of the combat section where we actually go through the steps needed to build a combat. So, as you can see, Rob is working at the moment on this spread, and even though it's like combat, we're actually making a bit more of a careful scene to go in this slot instead, which is going to be really interesting. I'm super excited to show his sketch for it. We'll probably share it in an update. But okay, so when you're building a combat situation, you add your combined crew difficulty to the top of your page. So in this case, we are my crew difficulty is, well, both of our crew difficulties actually are 1 per character plus 1 per personality or hardship discovered. So both of us in this case are going to be 6 because that's 4 characters and 2 personality discoveries, making us to a total of 12. So let's see here. So I've put difficulty 12 down on my mission journal. And the next step is you invent or take from the examples below 2 local area discoveries. Now it'll be 2 for us because there's 2 crews. If there were 3 crews, there'd be 3, etc. But there's always at least a minimum of 2. So Rhi, we're looking at this dilapidated old village where these rose hips have grown in wild abundance. Mm-hmm. What things around us would you say are visible, things that we could make use of?
I mean, earlier I mentioned that I was hiding like down behind a dry stone wall. So I would say that there's probably like quite an old dry stone wall.
Old dry stone wall. Okay, so I'll add that. We've got old dry stone wall. Yep. All right, and you said before that we were in a churchyard. I'm wondering about having broken headstones.
Yeah. I like that. You can sort of picture it.
Mm-hmm. Very quaint, picturesque little village it was too. Okay, so we've created our, we've got our difficulty, we've created our local area discoveries. The next step is normally where you choose your enemies with the white fist, but we're not facing the white fist. So we go back to the animals page. Is that the right one? No. There we go. Found it. And we are now dealing with some wild animals. So you determined, Rhi, that you think they are around size 5. So hypothetically speaking, we could add 2 of these. So I will add black bear. And we are dealing with, that is a carnivore type. I've done my best approximation of a steak. It is a terrible approximation of a steak.
It probably looks like a kidney bean with a spot on it, doesn't it? I'm right, aren't I?
Maybe that's exactly what it looks like. Look at my steak. Isn't it beautiful?
It's definitely some very blurry graphite.
It's some very blurry, but yeah, the camera did not want to refocus on that. Okay, anyway, so right now we've determined what the bears are. What is their special ability? So we've got a couple here. So I think black bears are definitely not pack hunters, and I probably wouldn't say they're resilient per se. Like black bears are not super tough.
No, I think lunging, like sudden movements, would work. Or scavenger, because they are scavengers. Like, you're likely to find a black bear in your bin.
That is true. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
they are also intimidating. They are bears, after all.
Yeah. All right. So they are. Should we go for intimidating or should we go for lunge?
I think we should go for. I think we should go for lunge, just because I want to try it out.
Okay, cool. So black bears have the lunge special ability.
Yep.
All right, so that is their thing. So I'll read it out. The animal lunges out in a sudden burst of movement. If no crew is scattered, the last crew to act becomes scattered. If any crew is scattered already, the topmost character is hit. So, yeah. All right, sounds pretty beastly. We are gonna. So we have the first one is 5. I put the second one in because they're working together. They have a fight rating of 10. So I'm just gonna attempt to show this. I've got 2 circles there. It's terribly. It just does not want to focus.
Back a little bit further.
Nah, it's not working out. That's fine. There's 5 in one and 10 in the other, and that where you're able to see how many there are. Now, hopefully, we're trying to not. What's it called? Like, actually hurt them or take them down? Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Oh, look at your camera with its adaptive focus. God, technology these days, eh?
I know.
Okay. Yeah, there are 2 of them. We're trying to send them away, but our difficulty, if we're trying to take on or intimidate 2 bears at the same time, is going to be 10. That's a lot. We're going to have to work very hard in order to try and deal with that. So we may have to split them up. We may have to scatter them. Whatever we do, it's not going to be easy. However, we have 2 more points of difficulty. So we had 12 that we needed to meet. and we have here 2 black pairs, each costing 5. That means something else is here. What is helping these bears? So we have 2 that are rank 1, which is swarms of insects or small to medium birds or rodents or something along those lines. Or we have something else, which could be like cats or a small dog or something along those lines. If we go for something that's a rank 2, it's going to be one of them. So it's not going to be too big a deal. But nonetheless, you have to pick something.
I feel like we should go for 2 birds.
2 birds?
I think that maybe they're a pair of magpies that have roosted in the roof, like the dilapidated roof of this church. And they hear the commotion outside, and they know that they've got their eggs up in that roof. You know, they're going to be hatching soon, so they start swooping down on the bears, on us, on the armed and desperate, on everyone, as magpies do.
Very good. Okay. So since these magpies, oh no, of course they're small birds. So if you're only fighting this rank, after 5 ticks, so when there's a strike through, an animal of rank D3 plus 1 carnivore is drawn to the disturbance. So that means that if we don't scare off the magpies first and we end up only fighting the magpies, then like it may well be that like a cat is drawn to the area or something along those lines because there's a big commotion going on with the birds and they're interested in it. So that's their special ability. So and there are 2 of them. Okay, so we know what we're dealing with. The other thing that we know is that there are the armed and dangerous. So these are people we're fighting with, not against.
Yep.
And that means I'm going to go and jump to the resistance section, which is realistically where we should have started, but it's focused on, where is it? Looking for it. Is it there? No, that's a long way off. Mediation, resistance, here we go. So with this, we have a so it just talks us through how you build a resistance ordinarily, like a resistance situation. We determine objectives, but I won't deny I jumped ahead a bit because I knew that animals don't have a specific objective. And as a result, I jumped ahead. I shouldn't have really, but there it is. The important thing, though, is right at the
game.
Yeah. I know
you make
too
it
much.
Break your own rules.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So the armed and desperate or wild predator animals are on your side. Then you have specific rules for if they are helping you out. In this case, we have armed and desperate. So we are. What is this? So we are. So we're rolling like it's an objective. So that means, Rhi, if you could roll me a 1d6.
Yeah. 4.
Okay, and then we add 2 per crew member.
So that's 4 plus 8, so that's 12.
Nice. So that's 12, and then we are taking away 1 for each 10 within your combined difficulty rating. So that is 11. So we're adding 11 armed and dangerous to this scene.
That is a lot of armed and dangerous.
Armed and desperate, sorry. 1, 2,
yes.
4,
I thought it didn't
6,
sound
7,
right, but
8,
I'm tired.
9, 10, 11. All right, and then for each pair of these, they add +1. So we are looking at... Okay, so when there is a strike through, they get their own little range takedown attempt. Okay, and they get exactly the amount of pluses that is determined by each pair of them. So in this case, there's a lot of them. They're all working together. They're trying to fend off these bears. There, as a result, is they're gaining +5 to any roll that they attempt to take down a bear. Now, this, I guess, really puts the fire under us, because we do not want the bears to get hurt. So in a way, we're having to try and do this before the armed and dangerous get their chance to actually harm these bears.
Yeah.
So on the other hand, if for any reason the armed and dangerous take a consequence on their roll, then we remove one. So the longer this goes on, the more of them get hurt because they are too busy trying to fight, too up in the face of these bears, and they will get mauled. So we're trying to save all the lives here. The more of them we save, the better this goes. So yeah. So yes, that is that. We are now. We made our situation. We know what we're dealing with. Now we just need to actually do it. So I'm going to jump us to the combat quick reference page. And the combat quick reference page is like oh no, this is an old version of it.
Oh, of course, we've updated. We've updated this
it
page.
since then. Okay. How am I going to deal with that?
That's fine. We can just describe it.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty unfortunate.
So each action is put into. We have 3 different types of actions. The first 3, so close takedown, range takedown, and oh no, they're in the wrong order.
Yeah, they're all. It's fully changed. This page. It is outright changed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly make a new scene.
Bear with, folks. Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Might well be a bear with technical difficulties as well after this.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay. I'm just going to switch us to here. Hello, folks. And I'm going to present. Okay, that is uploading. So in a moment, we will have the up-to-date combat page, which will be, relevant.
And in the meantime,
it's one of the troubles with
faces.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the troubles with having like versions that are not for public viewing is that some pages just like whatever, we'll do it down the line, and then you do end up showing it. Whoops.
Well, I think Rob focused on making sure that the preview was ready for our BackerKit launch, which meant the core book updates haven't quite been finished yet.
Yeah, I thought they'd been out.
Working on new artwork.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is it done?
I think so. I'm just going to remove that and add that, and then that way we have ourselves. Where is it? Next one. There we go. Okay, so we have ourselves our proper combat quick reference. This allows us to sort of see what our actions are, and going to. Thanks for tuning in, Michael. It was a pleasure to have you with us, and good luck with your work. But otherwise, we'll catch up with you later.
Absolutely. Take care.
So we are setting up our combat against these bears. We're working out how best to sort of go for it. We have 3 options available to us. We make an impact, we set something up, or we apply an effect. Each of these have different sort of, some of them are quiet, some of them are loud, and different effects are all on the previous page. So we've got a whole collection here we can choose from. So in terms of making an impact, this is where we'd be trying to take something down. But if we're trying to scare these bears away, then that would say to me that probably what we want to do is intimidate them. So that's I can't do a laser pointer or anything on this, can I? But anyway, the bottommost one of the status, the green one, is intimidate. And that is the one we're going to try and go for. So unfortunately, it is... We're attempting to do it, but it's minus their fight rating. So the bigger, the scarier they are, the more harder they are to intimidate, quite naturally. So, yeah, it might not be something we can do immediately, but it could be something we build up to. So, what are you thinking, Rhi? What jumps out at you as a way forward? Something we could do with this? The bears don't know we're there yet, so they're not going to target us just yet. But that does mean that if it does get to their turn, they'll go all in on the armed and desperate.
I think I might go for assess, because I have both awareness and navigation in my crew. I think since Time was the one who earlier on had the discovery of, there's enough to go around, why are we fighting? I think Time is going to use their awareness to look around and see what they can find to use to distract and scare off the bears.
Okay.
And I'm thinking loud noises are pretty decent against bears. So maybe they spot under like some overgrowth from like grass and plants and stuff, they spot like a sheet of corrugated metal.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Okay.
What I'm thinking is if I were to do assess and find that, you could get creative, for example, and use the broken headstones and throw them onto the corrugated metal, which would make a really loud noise.
Okay. All
So
right. Well, look,
roll first.
you do, but the thing with assess is that you will definitely add 1. How your roll goes determines on whether or not you get to add 2.
Yeah. So I also roll with free advantage because I have awareness.
That's true.
I do not have 3d6, I only have 2d6 because the rest of my d6 are in storage. So I'm going to roll 2 and then I'm going to roll 1 again.
Okay.
Okay, I've rolled a 6 and a 4, so that's 10 already.
Nice.
And a 2. So that's a 6, 4, and a 2. So that is 12.
That is 12. So you very much succeed. There's no consequences to this because you're over 10. So as a result, you take that moment, you look around the area, and you notice not just the corrugated metal, but something else as well. What else do you notice?
I also notice an old wheelbarrow. Once upon a time this churchyard would have been well cared for, and the caretaker clearly loved this wheelbarrow a lot. So it is a well-used old wheelbarrow.
Okay, an old wheelbarrow. Okay. Interesting. All right, well, I have added both of those on. So I will add I now add a tally. Yep. Because if we reach 5 tallies, then we have the strike through phase, which is where they get a turn. Bears do something, the armed and desperate do something, and everything sort of, all the things that they've been doing alongside us all kick off. So the next thing that I'm going to do to follow up with this is I think I am going to do what you said about the getting creative and using the broken headstone with the corrugated metal. But what I've been thinking about it, because obviously what we want to do, so if I'm going to strike out both of those, and then I make a new sort of big, what's it called? I make a new combined discovery. So I'm going to call it a loud distraction.
Yep.
And with the loud distraction, I'm able to apply 2 effects to it. So you're always allowed to apply 2 effects when you get creative. And then when you end up using this to facilitate another action by using your environment, you get to do the action you do and also apply the 2 effects that you're trying to do with it. So that are already applied to your get creative combined discovery. So I think it would make sense if we probably put distracted on someone, And then we need one more that would also apply. And I'm wondering if maybe it should be stunned. And
would you not want to use intimidated?
so intimidated you can use, but you still have to roll again for it. It doesn't just auto succeed, whereas the others do. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, if we apply distracted to the bears and we were to apply stunned to the armed and dangerous, armed and desperate, then they wouldn't get their turn to attack the bears on the strike through, and that would mean that we'd have a little bit more time to be able to try and fend these bears off. It would just mean that they potentially would take. It would mean they might take more damage if things go wrong. We might lose a few of them, but we could try and patch them up afterwards and help them out.
Okay.
So I'm going to combine these, and maybe you can make use of the loud distraction, or I can in my next turn. So I'm adding distracted -2, and I'm adding stunned with the question mark and the exclamation mark. So that's what that'll do when it's used. So it's back round to you. That's a tally down there. Wrong way. And so, yeah, it's over to you. What action do you think you're going to do, and are you going to use the loud distraction to assist it?
Yeah, I mean, if I use the loud distraction to assist it, I could potentially intimidate one of the bears.
You might be able to, yeah.
It
will still be difficult.
Yeah, I would normally be able to see the journal, but I cannot. So could you help me by running through the maths in terms of, so if they are distracted, was it?
So their fight rating is normally, because they're working together, they're 10. So it's 2 lots of 5. If you were to distract them, that would lower it down to 8. That would mean you're still at a -4. But one of the things you could do is you could attempt to scatter them. So you do an action of some kind, maybe even using the one of the
other. Then it would drop them down to.
It would mean they're both individually 10 because they're split up. They're not combined. So because they're scattered, we would be able to have a much higher chance of being able to intimidate them.
Okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do then. I am going to use Coriander, who has the specialty of camouflage, to scatter them by basically popping up from behind this dry stone wall all of a sudden. Like, they're really hard to see, and then all of a sudden they pop up from behind this wall and they're like, woo!
Yeah, I love that. Okay, cool.
Which will make one of the bears run towards them.
Okay, yeah. So you're becoming a lure in a way.
Yes, I am. I am the bait.
Okay, brilliant. This can't go wrong.
I mean, Coriander has wild hair, tattoos, and not a care in the world. Cori is up for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. Show us how it's done, Cori. And you're using your environment to achieve this, which means you get 3d6 instead of 2.
Nice. Could you go to the effects page quickly so I can read over scattered?
Yep, so scattered is just right in the middle.
So not only am I rolling 3d6, I also get a +1 because I have a physical skill.
That's right.
Okay, I've rolled a 5 and a 3. So that is 8 and 9. But with my +1 for it being a physical skill, I just hit 10.
Amazing. Okay, so describe to us what happens then. So Cori goes over to this dry stone wall. What goes on?
Yeah. So Cori leads everyone over to the dry stone wall, and they're having like a little bit of a discussion over like, how are we going to make this work? God, these bears are terrifying. We've got to get them away from these people. And Cori just gets like a big grin across their face and is like, I know what we're going to do. Literally turns, pops up from behind this wall and just like waves their arms around manically, making lots of exciting noises. And then the rest of the crew sort of cotton on that this is the plan and join in.
Amazing. I like to imagine, because you only just had that success by like that because of the +1, I like to imagine that like the bear sort of charges up and is just about to swipe, and then like the others are just like get Corrie down. Like, just manages to miss.
Absolutely. But the bears are scattered now, which means it is your turn, and we can hopefully intimidate one of them to leave.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So it is over to me. I can make use of my loud distraction, and I can attempt something else as well. So Gary went last time. I forgot to say, really, I didn't go into it. I'm too busy GMing. That's the trouble. I'm in GM headspace, not in player headspace. Okay, so Gary went last time. Getting everything ready with this bit of broken headstone, ready to sort of like properly bang, bang, bang on this corrugated metal. And whilst Gary's there, ready and waiting, I think this is where Lincoln gets the others together, and sort of what with being tactical and all that, sort of gets ready to give Gary the signal, creeps up close, and is basically going to try and coordinate with Gary making the big loud banging from one side, and then also like jumping out and making lots of loud like rah, 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 from the other side, which makes them feel like there's lots of big loud noises coming from both directions, and also all of the armed and dangerous all happening at the same time, and just oh my god, and hopefully intimidating. So because they're scattered, they're down to 5. I'm able to apply the loud distraction beforehand, which means I'm putting them down to -2 as well, which means they're now down to a fight rating of 3. And on top of that I'm able to stun the armed and desperate. So I honestly, if I'm trying to fend off a bear and then these loons jump out from behind a wall and like make lots of noise, and another one starts banging on corrugated iron, and someone else jumps out and starts shouting at the bears, I too would be pretty stunned. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That would take me by surprise. Nonetheless, they are stunned. And now I get to roll 3d6 in an effort to try and intimidate these bears.
Option for me to join in as well, or is that not able to be done?
Yeah, there is an option for you to join in. So this is coordinated efforts. To be honest, that sounds like it would make a lot of sense. We are very much coordinating in this. This is where 2 crews can coordinate their efforts to better succeed at a single action. Both crews roll 2d6 as if attempting the action, but only choose one of the rolled dice. The combined values of the crew's choice creates the final result. Now, if we both rolled well, and as a result have a nice, decent outcome, then brilliant, we've got a higher chance of success. If we roll terribly, or even just a partial success, and we take consequences, both of our crews take the consequences. So it's higher chance of success, but kind of doubled potential impact if things go wrong. So it's not something you do necessarily all the time, but like it can kind of create a bit of a cascade. So let's do it.
It's a big move, so I think it makes sense for us to work together on this.
I think so too. So I'm
rolling with advantage.
I am indeed. If you want to add so we only get to choose one of the advantage dice to add as well. So we pick between yours or mine if you're going to. Otherwise, we just use mine because I'm getting mine as a part of it.
I don't think I have anything I can tap for advantage, so it will just be yours.
Okay. So we'll roll the normal dice first, and then I'll roll my advantage in a minute.
I rolled a 2 and a 6.
Oh my god, okay. Well, I rolled a 3 and a 6.
Oh, amazing.
Which is brilliant. And then I roll my advantage, and I have rolled a 4. That's a teeny tiny little die. You can't really see that. Trust me, it's a 4. So we have managed to get a total of, it's the 2 6s and also a 4. So that is an incredible amount. That is 16.
The question is, can you get doubles if you're doing coordinated efforts?
If I hadn't used advantage with mine, then yes.
Yeah,
because I was rolling 3d6, we would have needed a triple.
Laurie.
If I'd rolled a 6 on my advantage die, then that would have been a triple, and that would have been a big deal. Okay.
Everyone leaves. It's just us left in the area.
Even the armed and desperate are just like, oh god, I'm out of here, and just run off. Absolutely. Okay. So right, the bears are absolutely overwhelmed by this sudden surrounding of loud noise and shouting and waving of arms, and they are now running. So this means that they, on their next strike through, they will have run. They will have vanished out of the scene, which will mean it's just the magpies left. We have one final action before that strike through. How are we using it? Are we going to try and get rid of the magpies too, or what's occurring here? Because the bears should have run away by the time after the next strike through, which means that thankfully, because we stunned our allies, they won't sort of get the chance to,
But
shoot
if the
bears.
bears leave, the magpies will call in more on the strike through.
You got it. So, do you think we can get rid of the magpies in time?
I really don't want to hurt them.
You could try intimidating them.
I could try intimidating them. Soothe the magpies. Could you go up to the effects page for me so I can have a little look?
Of course,
Although, isn't it technically your turn again?
No, I used my... Oh, no, of course, because we combined our efforts. So you're right, it is back to me. So I'm thinking about this, and so one of the things that happens with stunned is that at the next strike through, this enemy type is ignored. Stunned is removed after the strike through is resolved. So to be honest, to buy us some time, I'm thinking if I attempt to kind of stun the magpies, I'm not entirely sure how I would do that. But mechanically speaking, that would seem like the best option, to try and stun them so that we can then intimidate them a little easier. I mean, I suppose I could just try doing that. I could just try intimidating them, and then that's sort of done. We scare them all off at the end.
Yeah, try intimidating them. But I think the other thing is, like, the magpies are only here because of the ruckus, right? They came down from their nest because they're protecting it. So if there's nothing to protect their nest from, narratively, I personally feel like if I was playing this like not on a live, I would probably narratively say that the magpies at this point, now that things have calmed down, the armed and desperate aren't really shouting anymore, the bears have left, I think they would naturally sort of be like, okay, good, glad you guys listened to us, we're gonna go back home.
Maybe so. But to be honest, it's not about what the magpies will do. It's about the fact that they will accidentally lure something else here. That's the problem we're trying to avoid. So
try intimidating them.
So I can't use Lincoln again because I just used Lincoln. He's my only social specialist. So I don't get my +1 in my efforts to intimidate. But I think Sandy's going to step up, and I think what I'll probably do. I can't really think of any way that I could potentially use an old wheelbarrow to help me out, but that's okay. I can give it a go without. Sandy doesn't have a special personality discovery, so I'm just going to have to kind of go for the or you know what, there is downed. Downed says if the enemy would use their special ability on the strike through, they instead remove downed as their action. So what if Sandy were to it's an old village kind of place right by a church. Maybe there's some kind of like little net that's for a nearby pond or something like that that's just been kind of dilapidated. Yeah. Maybe she'll sort of attempt to sort of swoop and net one of these magpies, not to keep them there, but they'll probably struggle out in a moment, but at least it would stop them from luring anything else here. Yeah. So I'm going to give that a go. So I'm rolling, and I do get my +1 because this is a positioning effect. So I've rolled a 6 and a 1. I get a +1, so that makes me all the way up to 8. 8 gives me a partial success. I do succeed at what I'm doing, so they do become downed, but I take a consequence. So this is the first consequence we've taken on this live, so that's pretty exciting. But what is going to happen to me? This is a revealed consequence, because we're very definitely revealed.
Yeah.
So I think what I'll do is I will create a hardship. So hardships are like the more difficult side of personality discoveries. This is where we learn some long-standing issue with one of our characters, something that we maybe weren't aware of beforehand, but now that they've been pushed into this particular situation, it becomes evident that they actually struggle with this. They've just been somewhat hiding it. So in this case, I'm going to add a hardship to Sandy. And I'm going to say Sandy's got a bad back. Sandy's getting on a bit.
Sandy.
And doing that sort of swooping motion, doing that really fast sort of swooping downward motion with the with the net.
My back hurts in solidarity.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sandy now has a bad back. It's like it's an old kind of lasting injury, or perhaps not an injury, just from age, and now has pulled a muscle, something of those degrees. This is something that will be recurring, unlike an emotionally overwhelmed consequence, which is where they just feel really awful to the point where they can't fully concentrate. Hardship is something that will be a recurring issue throughout, now that you know that it's there.
Yeah.
So, right. So that is that. We have we now go to the strike through, but to be honest with you, not a lot is going to happen. The bears are going to run away at the end of it, but the magpies are downed. We take that off. That ends. And the armed and desperate were stunned, but now they're not. So they recover their senses. Like, where the hell did all these crews come from? What the hell is going on? See the bears running for it, and sort of calm down a bit. So these magpies, we've managed to get one in the net. It sort of struggles free and flaps its wings and shouts angrily as it flies away. And yeah, to be honest with you, if we wanted to, we could call it there. We could be like, the magpies fly away and that's sort of the end of it. It's going to be 5 actions between now and the next strike through where they might have a chance to lure something. I think we can agree that there's no way we're not going to be able to send them packing. They've only got a fight rating of 2. I think that would be fair.
I think they escape from your net and fly back up to their nest because they're like, you know what? Getting caught is not worth it. Yeah,
absolutely. So, yeah. Okay, so we call that combat is now finished. I am now going to remove that and add that back again. So we're back to the other one now. So
spot the difference. There's only 13 of them.
Yep. And so we have we've managed so that as a result, none of the armed and desperate went down. We've completely saved all of them. So we are able to get I think it is, where are we looking? It is basically gratitude per, it's 2 gratitude per circle remaining, I believe.
Yeah, I guess they were being terrorized.
Yeah, basically.
So, terrorized by bears.
Yeah. So, yes. That's probably something I might adjust, to be honest. I might have it that, generally speaking, animals, their objective is either defending something or fighting back against something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With that in mind, I'm just going to jump to... Actually, it might just be easier to go across. There we go. Rewards and recovery. So we've succeeded at our combat. We know that we have gained a whole bunch of gratitude. That is, 11? 11 times 2. That's 22 gratitude. Bloody hell, these people are really thankful. I won't deny. There we go. 22 gratitude from the armed and desperate. And so there's a number of different potentials that we can get rewards from. So on the gratitude page, we have unarmed civilians, animals, armed and desperate, and then general kind of resources and salvage. And what this means is that depending on who you're interacting with, depending on who you're getting things from, you're better able to kind of...
we should have scared off the armed and desperate and managed to get ourselves a bear companion. We did this the wrong way round.
We did do the wrong way round, didn't we? Well, I think could have made friends with the bears.
Could have made friends with the bears. Could have been riding a bear into battle. That would really show the white fist. Like, you know, oh, these little community alliance punks with their gardens and their nice stuff and their bears.
That would have really done it, wouldn't it? That would have been beautiful.
Throw that journal away. We're doing it again.
See, this is the thing, right? If we'd swapped it and it would have been all those the sheer amount of armed and desperate versus us, then it would have been, well, us and some bears, but nonetheless it would have been a whole different thing. And having to fight off armed and desperate is no small thing. Like, people are, you don't want to fight people either. So by having gone for the thing that's easier to scare off, we have resulted with the least casualties. So I think really that's why we picked what we did.
I guess.
You just also could have ridden bears and valets.
Bear companion.
No.
It's fine. I guess we can get some military equipment or something.
Okay, so it says here the armed and desperate, isolationists, typically wary of outsiders, but this in turn leads to an aversion of feeling like they owe anyone. After situations where you've assisted them to reach their preferred outcome, reward points, in this case gratitude, gained can be spent on the table below to determine what they offer you for your help. So the various options here are the cost of those things. So to be honest with you, I'm looking at this and I'm like, we don't necessarily know what we're walking into with this stash of medicine. I think one of the first things we should probably purchase is a call for backup token.
Yeah, big agree.
So I'm going to give it to Lincoln, I think.
Yeah. So that drops us down from 22 points to 16.
Yeah. So for those watching, a call for backup token is where you can then use that to call them in to assist you in a different way. Can be combat, like we had there, where they were helping us. Well, we didn't want them to help us, but nonetheless, they were a part of the combat and they would fight back alongside us. Or alternatively, you can also call them in to help you by providing an additional role on a non-combat attempt. So they arrive and they're like, oh, okay, well, no, we can vouch for them, or we'll help you take this thing apart or whatever else. And they become a bit like they're an extra crew willing to help out and make that difference. So yeah. What would you like?
With 16 points left, I think we should pick a specific military equipment. I just think that's a very useful thing to have. And also, by having it, given that, more military equipment isn't being made, it means that it is not in the hands of anyone else.
Okay, valid.
And the White Fist.
Yeah. And whilst hopefully what we're walking into with this medicine stash isn't going to be a violent confrontation, nonetheless, hopefully we won't have to use it, but at least if we got it, we got it.
Crossed.
So that's effects, a couple more. There we go, special equipment. So the military equipment table is over on the right-hand side there. Mm-hmm. And we have a whole list of potential stuff. What do you think? Since you picked the one that means we get a specific thing, what What are you looking at?
I mean, I won't deny any time a grenade launcher is available. Part of me feels like we should get a grenade launcher. But
Okay.
also, I feel like the Love Bug crew are a crew that preach love over violence. So I am actually going to go for a riot shield. Taking the
Okay.
riot shield would grant us the armored tag to a crew. If they are armored, any revealed consequences may be nullified. However, this can only happen 3 times.
Yeah.
Given that my crew also seem to enjoy using themselves as bait, which
I can see why it'd
we
be.
are revealed, I feel like they're outright going to give the riot shield to Coriander.
Yeah.
Just like, have this.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, all right. So add that to the coriander. Here you go, babe. You're going to need it.
Yeah. Hold this. No, holding it.
And so we go back to rewards and recovery, and we are looking at. Will it focus? Yeah, right. Shield. Again, it's got the 3 little circles, so you can strike them through as you use up. Yeah, as you use up the consequences. So the next section basically is outreach. Is how much do we have left? We spent 10.
We spent 16 so far out of 22, so that leaves us with 6.
6. Okay.
We could gain some outreach.
We could. Yeah. All right. We could buy specialty boosting equipment and 2 outreach.
Oh, we've got a comment as well from someone.
Oh.
Walkie Z.
Hello.
I'm guessing from the Z that you may be in our Discord server under a slightly different name.
So yeah, if we go for the specialty boosting equipment, then that way we can also get 2 outreach. I'll explain what outreach is in a second. But what do you think? Would be? We can pick either of them, or not either of them, or any of the 3. So mental, physical, or social specialty boosting equipment. And this equipment adds a +2 in any situation where you would normally be getting a bonus to that specialty. So just like when you're normally doing like a status effect or something, and you're adding you're adding like a +2 to it or something. Oh, sorry, a +1. Now you'd be adding a +2 as well, so you'd be adding 3 to your total. It means that they're really particularly good at their specialty.
This is something for your crew, right?
It can be, or it can be for yours.
Okay. What type of specialty do you have 2 of?
I have 2 physical specialties. So I have scavenging and I have athletics. Now I was considering the idea that maybe we find some of those, those Nordic walking canes for Sandy with her bad back.
Yeah. You know what? I love that idea because we're clearly like, stood around eating rose hips, talking to the armed and desperate, and Sandy's there rubbing her back after netting these magpies, and one of them sort of like sheepishly walks over and like hands her the poles and is like, "Looks like you could use these."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really cute. All right, so we will add. Sandy and do
Nordic walking poles might be the most bizarre specialty enhancing equipment I think we've ever had. No, actually, we did have that one pair of trainers that fit.
Oh yeah, amazing, like perfectly fitting trainers.
Perfectly fitting trainers, like the first time anyone has ever worn them as well, brand new, out of the box.
Magical stuff in the post-apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's nice. Sandy's very, very pleased about having these. Oh, thank you. That's really nice. You know, it's going to really help on my power walks. And so, yeah. Otherwise, we get 2 outreach. So I will add this to the top of our mission journal. So we got outreach, and we're adding 2 circles to this. Now, outreach is basically a combination of your reputation and the goodwill that's been generated from other people. So you're able to spend outreach to boost any kind of social role with as an advantage, and you're also able to use it in order to kind of like in exchange of gratitude that you would have elsewhere. So if you succeed at something and you manage to make people thankful that you're around, they might be able to go a little further because, hey, they heard about that thing you did where you saved those people from those bears. All right, yeah, go on then, you can have that. You know, it's a little bit more, but it just goes a bit further. So your reputation directly kind of feeds into all that sort of stuff. And the outreach, you spend the outreach in that way. And then when it comes to the sort of community building side of things, you'll be able to, every 2 outreach you get on a mission, you'll be able to add to your community, which boosts your general reputation as a whole. So not spending it becomes worthy as well. So with that in mind, we succeeded at this. We jump to back to discovering situations, and we get to decide if we want to stay here a little longer. Perhaps we want to connect with the with the armed and desperate, or perhaps we want to assist them with something, or maybe interact with something here at the church or in the village as a whole, or we can just decide to move on. So you're not really bound, unlike direct action with the quick play, you're not really bound to complete the situation, immediately move on, complete the situation, move on. Instead, you can sort of take your time, build on a situation you've discovered. It might be a case of you mediate between 2 people and you help them sort of reconcile whatever issue they're having, and then as a result you then spend your time assisting them to help them with whatever issues created this problem. And maybe you take the time to connect with them and learn about them as people and all the rest of it. So what do we want to stay here, or do we want to move on, try and get to our stash of medicine and keep going?
Personally, I think Rosemary would really like a moment of connection.
Okay.
And I am using this to hark back to, I think it was Mars' comment earlier.
Okay.
Rosemary is a grandma. She is a nan. Her personality discovery, her reason she's fighting is that she has lived her life and she'll gladly fight for her grandchildren to live theirs. And so I think she would take the time to gather some of those rose hips and turn them into a preserve.
Oh, cute. Okay, lovely.
Probably go inside the church building and, see what she can find, and just take a while. You might not have the sugar required to quite make it into a jam, but at the very least can turn it into some sort of yummy goo.
Excellent. Fantastic. Yeah, I think that, I wonder if, to be honest, being able to do something like that and make something from a scene of some kind without it needing to be like where you're dismantling something using interaction or anything like that. I think that's isn't necessarily something that is needed as an action, but is maybe there as an option that you can kind of draw on for a scene.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm personally taking this entirely narratively. This is a role-playing game that is highly narrative, and although we have rules for combat and we have examples of things you can do, I really like to lean into what's around and use that to do things like this. Like, okay, she makes the preserve. Does it change anything? Do we gain it in our inventory? No. But she takes that time to do that because that's something she would do.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I like that. Okay, so I think whilst you're doing this, we know that Sandy has had her bad back flare up and all that kind of thing, and you're making this jam in the background. I think that Bjorn is going to take some time, sort of help with this jam making, on the understanding that, like, would it be okay if, like, we made a little extra so that I can give it to Sandy, and maybe that will sort of help de-inflame her back and sort of soothe that a little bit. So
that's a really good idea. I like that a lot, because it's really good for joint aches. So
absolutely. So what I'll basically use that as a soothe action, but narratively I'm going to say that a part of it was him helping out with this jam and soothing Sandy of this back pain by getting this either jam that can be eaten, or maybe just like making it into some kind of paste that could be used in that way.
Chopping them up and putting them in a tea. Tea is like rosehip tea is very healing.
Oh, that's true. That's a nice one. I like that. Yeah, so something along those lines. Yeah. Okay. What other characters do you think? What are other people going to get up to?
I think. Get my people out.
I can go first if you'd rather.
No, it's okay. I think that Bayleaf is gonna sidle up to Coriander after this. While, people are sat around making this jam and the tea and stuff, and people are chatting and catching it. I think Bayleaf is going to sidle up to Coriander. And Bayleaf's quite shy and a little bit aloof. And Coriander is quite, wild hair and tattoos and very, very out there. I think Bayleaf sidles up to them and says, "You were really brave earlier. I thought what you did was amazing." And Coriander, being sort of the big brash personality that they are, is like, yeah. I basically scared bears off by pretending to be a turkey. I didn't think it would work, but here I am. So I'm gonna form a bond between Coriander and Bayleaf.
I love that.
Although, no, I can't, because they don't have personality discoveries.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I've noticed here, is that there should be Connect should be either make a bond or a personality discovery. I'm not entirely sure what that is, and it's been I think when it's been transmuted from a Google Doc into a thing, there's been some mix-up.
Yeah, I think so too, because I swear I've done that in the past. So in that case, I think instead of a bond, because I think this actually fits my narrative better, is Bayleaf is going to develop a crush.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Bayleaf is going to develop a crush on Coriander, and Coriander is completely oblivious.
Yeah. Love that.
That is what I'm going to put down. So I'm going to put the crush down as they're so brave. There we go.
Fantastic. I love that. Okay. So I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, what are my people going to do? What are they going to do to relax and unwind? Bjorn is helping out with this jam, or making a tea or something along those lines to help out with Sandy. I think Lincoln actually is going to take a moment and maybe mingle with the what's it called?
The Undesperate.
Undesperate. Thank you. Yeah. My brain's slowing down. We're going to have to stop after this one.
That's fair.
But yeah, so so I think it's going to mingle with them. Basically, what happens with that is I roll 2d6, and I gain outreach at every 2 points over 5. So oh no, I've rolled 4. Oh no, Lincoln. I even on the basis that he's a social character and therefore would probably get +1. Even with that, it's still only 5. It's just an outright, it's just an outright failure. All right, Lincoln attempts to make friends with these people and be like, hey, it sucks about those bears, huh? Like, maybe we can maybe we can help you out with like getting you some rose hips and that, and then that'll last you for a while. We'll pick some for you. And they just sort of look at him and they're just like, we don't need your help. And it's like, oh.
I mean, it very much fits with the armed and desperate's whole thing of like, not wanting help, not wanting to be in debt. So I think Lincoln maybe just misread the room a little bit there. Or
yeah.
Probably. I think after seeing this, Time will come over and put a hand on his shoulder and be like, it's okay, buddy.
Oh, that didn't go to plan.
No.
All right. Well, I think to be honest with you, I'm a little bit hesitant to have Gary do anything at this point. Apparently, I'm rolling terribly, but maybe Gary. I don't know that he's going to do an action that is on the list here, but I think, to be honest with you, Gary he's a scavenger at heart, and he's gonna basically fill his pockets with rose hips, and then maybe look and see if maybe he can use this corrugated iron for anything else. He's gonna pick it up, see how good it is, sort of give it a look over. There's a bit of rust there, or I don't know, could buff it out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gaz is got his eye out.
Into the car, isn't he?
That's it. Gaz is ready to see if he can maybe attach the corrugated iron to the front of the wheelbarrow and create like an armored sort of mobile cover. That's what he's looking at. So he spends his time looking over this. Absolutely futile, but nonetheless, it's just going to be there. Like, maybe if I could get that in there, we could bolt that onto the side of that wheelbarrow. Yeah, a bit of mobile cover. Cut through a little eye slit. No sweat, mate. No.
I love that he's just out there talking to himself.
He is absolutely out there talking to himself. He's just, like got his little scavenging tools. Like, I could totally cut that. And then at some point, sort of, Sandy's like, "You're right over there, Gary." And, yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, all good. Just.
We love Gary.
We love Gary. Good old solar punk Gary.
Little heart.
So, anything else going on with your crew?
No. No, that is it. We are making rosehip jam, rosehip tea, and flirting.
Yeah. Sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Might do that on Friday.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think, to be honest, after that, they'll probably pack up, start heading on, going on to their info towards the Stash of Medicine they've heard about. And I think probably what we'll do is, we've been going for 2 hours now. I think we'll stop the stream there, and then we'll pick it up another time, continue on with our love bugs and our zip zappers, and head on and see what this Stash of Medicine is. So, for those of you who are still with us and those of you who have joined for the whole, sort of, whether it's the whole way through or just come in, thank you so much for coming and watching. It wasn't what we planned to do tonight, but it was a good time. So there's that.
It was, though I will mourn the fact that we didn't get bear companions.
There's future bear companions. We know they're here now. We can come back. Yeah,
it's true. Come back, find the same bears we scared off and be like, look, we didn't mean it. Please just join us.
Just don't attack me. I brought honey. It's okay.
Good plan. Right, so honey. I'll have to find some.
Yeah.
But
next time on our adventure, we will find some bees and suffer. But it'll be worth it because it's all for the bears.
I can't believe you would spoil our next stream for these lovely people. Why would you do that, Laurie? The suspense is now just completely broken.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. All right. Well,
in all seriousness, though, folks, I really appreciate you joining us. And we hope you have enjoyed watching us bumble our way through this situation. And no doubt we will get slapped pretty hard in the next one because we tend to.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. And let us know how you found it in either our Discord server or in the back kit. Feel free to take the mickey out of us, or otherwise say
Please.
how much you enjoyed it. So we will catch you next time, and we will hopefully find ourselves a stash of medicine. Ciao for now, folks.
Bye.